This is something that happens often in the world of being a leader. And if you have been in a career transition, or perhaps you are at a place where you're trying to change into a different career as a leader, as a woman in leadership or a man in leadership, I'm going to share with you some insights that will help you to be able to have better resume tips, resume strategies, so that when you're transitioning into those roles, you're showcasing yourself as the person that you want to be perceived as when you're applying for these positions. Now, maybe you've been in a career transition for a while, and for some reason you feel like your resumes or are not working, or perhaps you are not getting interviews. Well, let's talk about it. I'll share with you my over 20 years of experience as a C-suite executive, a manager, and a director to help you be able to go to that next level in your career and learn some insider tips today that will help you as you are structuring yourself as you're getting ready for your resumes. So I want to say, for those of you who have joined, welcome, welcome. Glad you're here today. And if you're watching this video at this point, you are likely watching the replay. So bear with me as people start to join the lives. Then what we'll do is I'm going to greet them and say hello to everyone and see if they have any questions, and then we'll go right into those resume tips that I was mentioning to you before that will help you if you are in a career transition. All right, so let me look at the chat. So Forensic Accountant, hello, good evening, welcome back. Glad you're here today. Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate you being here. So at the very beginning, when you are starting to develop yourself in your career, we put a lot of time and a lot of energy into our roles that we're doing. And for the individuals that I work with and for the people that are watching this channel, majority of you, pretty much all of you, are probably at that level in your career where you've done a lot, right? Like, for instance, the forensic accountant is here. He's done a lot of things in his career. So there's a lot of things that end up happening in terms of our skill sets that we start to develop. So what I found that happens often with individuals that are in those career transitions is that they do not know exactly what to do and how to do it as it relates to transitioning in a career, because they have spent so much time investing in themselves and developing a specific skill set. So what do you do? What do you do in this situation when you're trying to transition into a new career? So for those of you who have just joined, I'm going to go into that in a minute, but I want to say hello to everyone. We have Zoe Roblox 10. Hello, hola, welcome, welcome. We have RFGG13. Welcome, welcome. Hello. Best Gag Player. Welcome, welcome. Glad you're spending some time here today. XAXO213. Hello. Welcome, welcome. Chris Bruno. Hello, welcome, welcome. All right, everyone. Well, I appreciate you being here today. Darren, hello, welcome, welcome. Glad you're here today. Feel free to let me know what part of this big, beautiful world you are joining from today. And if you have any questions specifically as it relates to resume tips, if you are in a career transition, this is the place for you. You can learn over 20 years worth of knowledge from myself as a C-suite executive, a manager, and a director that will absolutely help you to do things a little bit differently as it relates to your resume. All right, Jody Hicks, hello. Hi, Jody. How are you? And Zoe Roblox 10. Dia bueno. Okay, all right. Well, thank you so much. Well, let me know where you all are joining from today. And if you have any questions, just put them in the chat. Let me know and I'll answer them for you today. And if you like this information so far, feel free to subscribe to the channel. This is going to be a topic that we're going to talk about as it relates to helping you be able to do more resume tips and do amazing with your upcoming resumes. So I'm going to start off with what we talked about earlier. A lot of times people are in career transitions and they have found themselves in a career for a certain amount of time, and they get to the point where they just want to transition. They want to do something a little bit differently. So they think about applying for positions and etc. I mention this because this particular topic has been a topic that has came up for me and the clients that I work with for a long time, at least several, I'd say a couple months, where I have clients I work with that are in those career transitions and they're trying to figure out what to do. Well, when you are trying to transition yourself into another career, the first strategy I want to share with you as it relates specifically to your resume is to not apply for different positions with one single resume. I would recommend not to do that. This is the reason why. what I have seen a lot of my clients that I work with do is that they're very, very, very accomplished individuals. And as I mentioned earlier, there's many of you that are very much accomplished. You've done a lot of things. You have a tremendous skill set, and you just got to put everything on there, right? You have to put everything on the resume. However, if you are applying for, let's say, a role in finance, and you have spent some time working in, let's say, the healthcare sector, or you've worked with patients and etc., and you haven't dealt with finance as much, then you want to be mindful that your role you're applying to is specifically for finance. So you want to apply for positions that are related to finance, but your resume has to reflect that. I've seen a lot of people make these mistakes where they are applying for positions, and these positions specifically are asking for this skill set, but they bring in a resume that has everything they've ever done in their whole lives. So I do not recommend for you to have just one single resume that you're applying to for all positions you want to apply to. This is a fast way for you to not have your resume looked at, because hiring managers, they want to see exactly what it is that you are working on. There is a saying that we have in the business world, and it is called "a confused mind does not buy." This is the same type of philosophy I want you to keep in mind when you're looking at your resumes and you're trying to see what you want to do with them. The hiring manager, if they are confused, they are not going to want to extend a interview offer to you if they have no idea how your specific experiences factor into this one position you're applying for. So simplicity is much, much better in this particular role. So you want to make sure things are as simple as possible so that you are able to showcase your expertise. Now, I'm going to go into the next strategy that will help you. But before I do that, I want to go into the chat. All right, Jody Hicks says, I'm in need of helping finding a new career. Okay, Jody, so if you need help finding a new career, then if you want to, let me know what are some careers you're thinking about doing, and I'd be happy to talk with you and kind of talk through it with you this evening while we have some time. But let me know what type, if you're needing some help, what I would do from an executive coaching standpoint is to say, well, what type of careers are you looking for? Like, what are the type of roles that you are most interested in that is going to make you happy and hopefully help you generate income? So let me know in the comments below. I'll be happy to walk that and discuss that with you today and give you some clarity there. Then I'll go into those next particular strategies to help you with your resume. Okay, forensic accountant says healthcare fraud is rampant. Yes, it is. That is very, very true, forensic accountant. Healthcare workers, especially those who have billing experience, should consider a financial crimes career. Well, forensic accountant is obviously a forensic accountant. So that is a really great insight, and there's a lot of things that happen in healthcare. They try to have some checks and balances, but I think with any industry, sometimes things just get completely just missed, and those checks and balances don't happen the way they need to. So forensic accountant, I appreciate you bringing that up. That's something to definitely keep in mind, just as you're thinking about your roles and etc., that there's always some things financially you really have to be very, very mindful of in your career. Now, the next strategy I would recommend as it relates to your resume and these tips that help you if you're in a career transition. Remember, at the beginning, for those of you who are just joining, we talked about oftentimes people will have so many accomplishments and so many skill sets, they put them all in one resume. Put them all in one resume. And they send that resume out. So this is not necessarily the best way. The hiring managers will be a bit confused. The second strategy I recommend for you to do is to think about the type of roles that you plan on applying to. For example, if you plan on applying to a role that is in finance, but you also have some experience in IT, and perhaps you have some experience in education, then you will want to create resumes for those type of jobs you're applying for. Many of the positions you're applying for will have some form of a similarity to them. And I tell my clients all the time, if you are the type of person that wants to edit your resume for every single job description that you apply for, then go ahead and do that. However, for me personally, I don't do that. I personally do not do that. It's too time consuming resumes, as many of us know, they take a lot of time. There's a lot of thought that goes into it. Therefore, that is something that I don't want to do. Now, I will say personally, I have 3 different resumes. If I was looking for employment, I have one resume specifically for me as a dentist, as a practicing, treating patients. I have one resume as an administrator because I worked as a C-suite executive and a director and a manager for 20 years. And then I have my third resume that focuses specifically on executive coaching. So if I was looking for jobs, I use my 3 skill sets that I'm the strongest at, and I have resumes for each position. I hope that provides you all with some clarity, because this is what many of my clients come to me for, to receive some guidance on, because they're just not sure of what they should do. So if you have a lot of skill sets and there's different roles that you know you're applying for, but you're just not sure of how you want to work things out, then just make sure you develop a resume for the type of roles you're applying for. There may be variations as you're applying, but develop it for the type of roles you're applying for, so that when you see a role in finance, you say, okay, finance resume, apply. Or if you see a role in IT, then I have my IT ready, my resume ready, and I apply. Or if you see a role in education, same process. I have my education resume and I'm ready to apply. So that makes things a bit simpler for you as you're trying to develop things and move forward. Now, I want to go into my next strategy, which would be my third strategy to help you on your journey as you're trying to get your resume in a different place as you are going through a career transition. But let me go to the chat first and see what comments that are here. So Forensic Accountant said, we're still routinely reporting COVID-19 fraud and PPP loan fraud. Yes, that did happen. I can't say specifically, but I am aware of individuals that are serving jail time for PPP loan fraud. So yes, Forensic Accountant, that is so very true. And I know in your field specifically, this is what you do. I mean, this is what you look at every single day. You're observing this to see exactly what's going on with these type of situations. And it's unfortunate that this particular situation did happen, especially during COVID. There was a lot of funding that was coming around, and there was a lot of mismanagement of funding also. And that's just reality. This is what happened. And this happens all the time. So Forensic Accountant said, like that Louisiana case. Yes, exactly. So there's a lot that's out there. And Fred, thank you for bringing that up. But there's a lot that's out there as it relates to fraud and crimes and etc. So you just really want to be very, very mindful of organizations you're working with, how they're managing their billing and etc. Even outside of healthcare, in any industry, you just have to always be very, very mindful, because what I've found that happens sometimes is that you may be in a setting where there is fraud or things that happen, and when something occurs, then the organization is responsible for paying those funds back or doing something. There may be some litigation that goes with that, a lot of things that happen. And oftentimes when there's funds that have to be paid back, guess what happens? How are they going to recoup those funds? Many people end up being laid off, or their jobs are no longer needed. That is what happens on the back end. So you just want to be careful. Just be mindful of who you are applying for in terms of positions, and if they've had any problems or anything like that in the past. So Forensic Accountant, thank you so much for bringing that up. Now, my third strategy would be to specifically think about those resumes that you're developing, but think about your bullet points on your resumes. What I notice a lot of people do is they put about 4 or 5 or 6, 8, 9, 10 bullets for one position. You do not need all of that. You absolutely do not need all of that. Feel free to listen to what I'm sharing with you. I know it sounds a bit counterintuitive, but I found this to be very successful with many of my clients. So when it comes to your resume, the number of bullet points and etc., think about having at least 3 to 4 bullet points that are very good quality, very concise, that talk about your specific role. Now, for instance, if you are combining those resumes, as we talked about, depending on the role you're applying for, and your bullet points specifically, maybe in one role you have not a lot of experience with a position you're applying for, then you want to make the position that showcases your expertise in this particular role that you're applying for be a bit longer. So make sure your bullet points are between 3 to 4 characters if you can. I would say between 2 to 4. And if you find there's positions in your resume that do not have as much experience in the role that you're applying for, then the positions on your resume that have that experience that you're applying for should have more bullets, because you have a lot more to emphasize there. And in that case, when it's time for you to go into your interview, you should talk a lot more about those positions and downplay the ones that do not have the expertise that you would need for this particular role that you're applying for. I find that has been very, very helpful to many of my clients to really think about their resume. You do not need to have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 bullets for one position. It is a complete waste of time. And I will share with you, if you have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 bullets for your resume, you may need to make it more concise, and you may struggle sometimes in interviews with being concise because you're putting too much on there. So if you need some support with that, you're always welcome to reach out to me for a strategy session in the comments below, where we'll talk about where you are on your career and what are some challenges you're facing and how we can make things more concise for you for your resume. Now, one question I'm asked all the time is, how long should your resume be? I have seen resumes evolve over the past 20 or so years. When I was out many decades ago, resumes were typically 1 page. Now I've seen them transition into 2. So it really just depends on your skill set. I personally think 2 pages is sufficient, as long as you have it saved as a PDF file. If you are going more than 2 pages, then you need to think about a CV, because that's just a lot longer. So that's something just to keep in mind, just in case you all had any questions about that as well. All right, let me look what's going on in the chat. So Forensic Accountant said, a fraud or money laundering conviction is a career killer. That is absolutely correct. And Forensic Accountant is definitely accurate in that. It will completely just destroy your career. This is the reason why you want to make sure that you are with reputable organizations and that you are not tied to anything like that, because when those situations happen, they're looking at everybody involved. It's not just the one person. Who else knew about this, and who else knew about this, and who else knew about this also. So absolutely, good point, Forensic Accountant. Thank you for bringing that up. And yes, you definitely do not want to destroy your career. Those type of situations, fraud, money laundering, it will completely destroy your career, especially with a conviction. It's just, it is very, very difficult to recover your career after that. And majority of the time when those situations happen, people are automatically forced to go into a different career. They are not able to stay in the career that they were in, or they have a very, 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 very long road to go to in order to have that career where it needs to be. It will take many decades to get there. So definitely want to make sure that you all are not doing anything like that, and just be really careful who you work with. Okay, so Forensic Accountant says, question, is it okay to use a middle name when you fear that your given name may lead to your resume ending up on the bottom of the pile? Okay, or does AI eliminate the possibility? That's a really great question. And I would say, in terms of your middle name, it's completely up to you in terms of what you want to do in that particular situation, because I understand where you're coming from, because we've chatted a bit on the channel. And if you have that intuitive sense that may create something there, then you can leave your middle name out. However, it's really up to you on that. It's really up to you. And that's definitely a personal decision. From a coaching standpoint, I would say, who do you want to be known as in terms of when you're applying for these roles? Do you want to be just full person, full name, Forensic Accountant with your middle name in the middle? Or are you okay with having your name abbreviated, or not abbreviated, but not the full name? And that's going to be a personal decision that you have to think about in terms of what you want to do or how you want to be portrayed. Some people do that. Some people will do that, and then some people don't. They say, you know what, this is my name, this is what I want to be. But I would say majority of the times when I see resumes online and when I was reviewing resumes as a C-suite, majority of the people just had first, last name. They just had first and last name. I would see middle names every once in a while, but majority of the time it's just first and last name. So you can use that information however you want to, but I would say in my very, very humble experience, I've seen just really first and last names come up for the most part. So that will hopefully give you some insight in terms of what you may want to do with your name, or you may just want to say full name or maybe just first and last. It's something that's going to be completely up to you. Now, does AI eliminate that possibility? I think when I hear a lot more as it relates to AI, it seems to me that it is looking more for now. Now, years from now, I have no idea what AI is going to be doing with our resumes. I unfortunately am not able to speak to that. But for now, it seems like it's doing more of a scan of your keyword and etc. So this is something that I would keep in mind. I would say maybe not at this moment. AI is probably not necessarily looking at the middle name. It's looking more so at the skills that you're offering and what you are able to provide. However, will there be a point in time where it may look at middle names? Maybe. But as I mentioned, majority of the resumes that I have seen are typically just first name, last name. And so that's something that I would do. I know, for instance, on my resumes, they are first name, last name. I don't have a middle name. I don't put a middle initial or anything like that. That's just for me personally. But let me know what you decide to do. Okay, so forensic accountant says, how do you pronounce it? Jaquarius, I believe. Jaquarius? If I didn't say it correctly, I'm so sorry. Robert Benson. I'd rather use Robert. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. So maybe just use, in that case, Robert Benson, if you decided to use Robert Benson. So that, I think, will be probably a good option for you in that case. Or you could put Robert J. Benson if you want to just have your middle initial. If you don't want to put your middle name and maybe just your middle initial, that's fine too. That may be something that you might want to consider also, is either Robert Benson or maybe Robert J. Benson instead, or use Robert, whichever one you think that you want to do. But either way, middle name is great. I think Jaquarius, I believe I'm saying it right. I hope so. It's a great name. It just depends on what you want to do in terms of how you want to present yourself when you're going through your resumes. All right, fantastic questions. Thank you so much, Forensic Accountant. I appreciate that. And for those of you who are either still watching or watching the replay, let me know in the comments below, what are some questions you have as it relates to interviewing and preparing your resume? I know oftentimes this is a big question that I'm asked very, very often as it relates to how can I get myself ready for a transition in my career with my resume. So I hope that these insights I'm sharing with you will help you on your journey. Now, the very last strategy I mentioned to you, we talked about your bullet points. We talked about several things today. So we've talked about career transitions don't have just one single resume. The next thing is try your best not to box yourself in. I would say really think about the type of roles you're applying for and make resumes specifically for those roles. I personally do not make resume additions or revisions for every position I do. I do not have the time to do that. And then third, we talked about how much you want to put on your resume in terms of bullet points. Now, my last strategy I want to share with you is to make sure that you are placing your skills on your resume. I see this as a missing place all the time. Any skills, any certifications, any softwares that you are using, for some reason, they're just not listed on the resumes. Therefore, when you're thinking about AI, as a forensic accountant mentioned earlier, scanning your resume, then this is something that you want to have, that you have experience in Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, SAS, or any other CRM platform or anything that you have worked with. Absolutely make sure you put those in your resume. I see this as something that people don't do, and especially if you're in a career transition and you're trying to find those transferable skills, you absolutely want to make sure that you're bringing all of your transferable skills to this particular job. And a lot of times they will be able to help you as you're talking when you're discussing how amazing you are in your interview. All right, so Forensic Accountant said, we know how some HR reps do. I know it's awful, but it happens. Yes, you do have to be, and that's true. I mean, that's very, very true, Forensic Accountant. I've been on the backside of it. You do have to be mindful. So I believe with what you mentioned in terms of a potential option, in terms of possibly doing first name, last name, is a good alternative that you can do in the meantime also. So Forensic Accountant mentioned include professional certifications too. Yes, absolutely. And thank you for bringing that up. Certifications are very, very important, as I was mentioning earlier. Professional certifications are even more so important. Many times, high achieving individuals that are watching this channel, that are subscribed to the channel, are those individuals that are really at the top of their leadership level. They're getting there, they're exceptional leaders, and we do a lot. There's a lot of different certifications that we end up obtaining and etc. Whether you're doing, let's see, I'm thinking of a certification like PMP or something along those lines. That's your project management certification. You want to definitely put that on your resume also, because your hiring managers need to know what type of certifications that you have. And what I share with my clients in an interview setting is that those certifications can help you and can actually be used as leverage when you are having your interviews and when you are having your discussion as it relates to salary negotiations. This is really something that's very important. I'm very aggressive when it comes to salary negotiations, and this is a skill that I would personally use. I would always have something to discuss that is maybe a bit different than what they're expecting. So have your certifications listed. Also, have a special experience that you have had that maybe other people have not had that you want to use as something that you can talk more about that really wows your interviewer also. Now, I know we're talking a bit more about the interviewing process, but in resumes, your professional certifications really do matter, and they are very, very important. So thank you so much, Forensic Accountant, for bringing that up. Include that as well. Now, I know we've talked about a few strategies as it relates to career transitions and specifically when you are trying to prepare your resume. So if you have any other questions as it relates to resumes, career transitions, or interviewing, or speaking, or anything as it relates to this particular topic, then let me know in the comments below, especially if you're watching the live or if you're watching the replay. Feel free to let me know what are some things or some situations that you're currently struggling with as it relates to getting ready for your resumes and preparing them. Now, if you need some additional support, you're welcome to contact me. One of the things that I do for my clients is I don't do the editing of the resume. However, I will take a look at your resume, I will look at your job description and record a video for you in detail and give you a C-suite level insight in terms of what are some things, so what are some topics or some strategies we can do to help your resume become better. If this is something that you're interested in, then feel free to contact me for a strategy session in the description below, and we'll talk about it, and I'll put something together for you that will be very, very much worth your while. All of my clients that receive this service, they absolutely love it. So let me know if you need some help. I really want to help you on your journey. All right, Sean Robo, hello, welcome, welcome. Hope you're doing well today. If you have any questions as it relates to getting yourself ready and preparing your resume, if you are in a career transition, then feel free to put them in the comments below. Now, one of the things I do want to mention to you all is that there's a couple of topics that are coming up here very soon. One of them specifically actually is coming up tomorrow, which is for the forensic accountant who happens to be on our live today. It's talking more about when you're having those confidential conversations that come up in different types of settings. So we'll talk a bit more about that, and that will be happening tomorrow. So if you've ever been in a situation as a leader where you're trying to figure out, I don't know what I need to share or what I should not share, I'm just not quite sure, then this live will dive more into that topic and talk about how can you share information that may be somewhat more confidential, but share it in a way where you don't have to disclose too much. It's always challenging, especially when you are in a leadership role, because majority of the time as leaders, we are the individuals that know a lot. And it's not only by how we observe as leaders, because that's very important. You can read the room and learn a lot more about people by how you observe their interactions with other individuals or their interactions with yourself. But as leaders, people trust you and people want to talk to you. They want to speak with you. They want to have a conversation with you. And they may share very sensitive information that you are just not quite sure of, well, what should I do? Like, how should I do this? And I want to mention to you all that there's ways to do everything, especially as it relates to communication. People become great by how they communicate. And on this channel specifically, I focus on those very next level communication skills to help you be able to handle those very challenging situations that come up in the wonderful world of leadership. There's oftentimes not a book that talks about some of these very challenging situations. There's a lot of content on YouTube that does talk about leadership models and theories and etc. But on this channel, I really focus on real strategies, real techniques that will help you be able to go to that next level in your career, especially if you are dealing with very complicated situations. That is what I'm here for, to support you. I like to support you with the hard things, because that's what most people come to me for, is when there's difficult conversations they're having that are very, very, very hard. So let me know if you have any questions specifically. I appreciate you all so much for being present today, and appreciate your comments, Forensic Accountant, so much. And if y'all have any questions, just put them in the comments below. One of the videos that will help you as you're preparing for your resume is a video that I have on my channel. I believe it's a short form, or it may be a long form, but it says, actually it's a short. It gives a quick summary, and it's called Resume Tips That Wow. That is something that you might want to check out also. It's a short, but it's some good information. There's a lot of content here on my lives. This is where I spend most of my time for now. I'm still going to be live, but I will be actually doing more pre-recorded videos very soon, where I'm going to be taking a look at different leaders, different communicators, to help bring some of those some of those type of situations, scenarios that come up where you say, wow, this person is such an amazing speaker. I'm going to bring and break down what they're doing so that you can do those type of strategies, those type of communication, type of gestures, and etc. in your everyday conversations to make you stand out like the amazing leader that you are. So stay tuned for those. Those are going to be coming up here very soon, more than likely after I launch my podcast. What I want to know from all of you is, regardless of what country you're from, let me know what are some leaders that you want to learn more from. Let me know which leaders you look at and you say, wow, this is a really great leader. I'm not biased politically. I could care less. This is communication, and I want you all to pick out communication strategies that will actually help you on your journey. So let me know what leaders you want me to review for you. I will take a look at a speech that they've done. I will watch it, and I will pull out what are those things that make you feel, wow, this person is great, so that you can do those very same type of strategies when you're communicating with other people and stand out as a leader. All right, so Forensic Accountant says, you're performing a valuable service and I'm here to support. Well, thank you. I appreciate that, and I appreciate your support also, especially with the topic discussion for tomorrow. So really look forward to that. Appreciate you being present on the lives, and always provide really fantastic insights for those individuals who are watching live or watching the replay to really think about as they are transitioning in their specific careers. Now, the fraud part of it, as we discussed earlier, in your career, you just don't want to get entangled in those type of situations. So I appreciate you so much, and I appreciate your support. All right, if you all don't have any additional questions, I will see you tomorrow at our live, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Bye for now.